Good morning and welcome to Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens. I am your host, Yvette C. Owens, the business ambassador. I am a business strategist, facilitator, trainer, focusing on the culture of organizations, helping leaders to create healthy organizations, helping leaders to find their place, whether it be in organizations that they're associated with or creating their own entrepreneurship. So, welcome today. Today's topic is Misfit, Change Agent, Authentic Me. Authentic Me. Um, have you ever wondered why you see things that other people don't see? Have you ever thought about how you can see where things seem to be out of order or could be done in such a more proficient way, or there's a better way, there's a much more excellent way, we would like to say. But it seems that everybody else is okay with how it's going, and you are the only one that's seeing it. You're not speaking maybe the same language and that the people around you are speaking. You're not feeling the same joy, or you're not feeling as downtrodden or disheartened or bad. Either way, your emotions around your environment or where you are very opposite to what those who are in that same space with. And when you're like that, and when you find yourself in that place, you can automatically think, I am a misfit. This is not a good place for me. But really, I want to ask you to take some time to assess. Perhaps you are a change agent and you are one who is been given the ability to see what you see, to hear what you hear, which is different than everyone else, and you're to change it. In that case, how do you go about being your authentic self, being that change agent, pushing back on the notion that you are a misfit, or as I had a leader once call me, a reject among rejects. Not a very not a very delightful way of being described, right? But if you understand the power of that, as I learned over a period of time, then it's like, okay, I'll be that reject among rejects, because that means I am in a position to influence more change. I'm in a position to help us to get to a better place. I have an assignment to see things different than what you or others are seeing. So that's okay. So I'm okay with being a misfit. I'm okay with being a change agent, because that places me in a position of power. And how do I then take that position of power and influence the environment that I'm in? That's what I want to talk about today. That's what I want to talk about today, because sometimes as we are in that, find ourselves as the misfit or reject, we feel that we've lost that power, that nobody wants to hear what we have to say, and we shrink back, we step back, we don't say what we see, we don't try to even make changes when we have the ability to make changes, because we just don't want to be out of sorts with everyone else. Well, guess what? You are seeing it potentially because it's up to you to help influence that change. Maybe not by yourself, but if you don't raise the issue, who will? So here are 5 ways you can influence situations that you find yourself in. First and foremost, own your voice, own your thoughts, own your identity. As I was just explaining, when I was called by a leader a reject among rejects, it was like I wasn't owning that at first, because I really felt he was belittling me at the time. But again, once I learned the power of being a change agent, the power of change management, and there's a whole body of thought leaders who are around change management, I began to embrace it, understand what that was, and learned how to really influence. So own your voice, own your value, because that's a value that you bring to a group. Everybody's going down this same track, and it's almost like the emperor has no clothes. The emperor has no clothes. For those of you who remember that fairy tale, right? Um, if that child wasn't there saying, "Hey, he has no clothes on," then everybody would have let the parade go by with the emperor without any clothes on. So there is a place for those who call us misfits or rejects or change agents. There is a place for you. So own and value your insight. It, own and value it. Number two, learn the currency of those you are trying to influence. What's most meaningful to them? And as you're stating your case, as you sharing your thoughts, as you're sharing what you see and your recommendations, and that's important, excuse me, not to just share, oh, we got a problem, but come with some solutions and recommendations. As you're sharing that, speak it in the language that's most meaningful to the people who you're trying to influence. Speak it from their currency. What's most meaningful to them? It's if it's the how it's going to impact the bottom line, the profit. Speak to them that from that perspective. If it's image and brand that they're concerned about, speak to them from that perspective. I see this, and this is the impact it's going to have on my brand, our brand. I see this. This is how it's going to impact the people who are working with us, our teams. And if they're really focused and concerned about making sure they keep momentum going in the organization, they're going to want to listen at least to what you're saying and what in this insight that you're bringing to them. Number three, give the gift of time to others to absorb, reconcile, accept, and in some cases embrace what your change is bringing about, so that they have some time to really harness the power and define it. They have some time to get their hands and their arms and their head around what you're talking about. Change is not always easy for people, and it does disrupt. Change impacts everyone, and it impacts different people at different levels. So give people time. Just because you see it, just because it seems like an emergency or urgency to you, give people time to hear what you're saying, to observe the behaviors or the practices of what you're highlighting, and give them time to embrace it so that they can now be ready to talk about more solutions with you. All right. Number four, harness the power of defining and collaborating on the implementation of the change. See it through. So, what I mean by that is make sure that just because you see it and you see it being resolved in this way does not mean it is the way, right? You have been um, deemed, knighted, crowned as the change agent with that your authentic voice, with your insight. So when you see it, and you see some solutions, be open to others coming up with other ways that, or adding to what you're suggesting can be a solution or a resolution to the situation, how we can really implement this change, right? Because when we collaborate, when we enter into a think tank with other thought leaders, with other participants, with other people who are going to be involved in the change, right? Especially those who have to execute the change. Too often, as leaders, we sit and we see the change. Somebody brings an idea to us, and we start to create how we can impact and make it better without talking to the very people who have to make the change happen. I'll say that again. We do it too often without talking to the people who have to make the change happen. Speak to the people who have to make the change happen. Tell them what you're thinking. Get their insight. See how it's really going to impact whatever other things that they're doing, because this is not the only thing that is impacting their life. This is not the only thing in their workflow. So take a great synopsis, take a good purview, take a good overview of how this change will impact them. Collaborate on the solution, and you're going to win every time, because then you get more buy in. And the other thing is when you're collaborating, do not do not push back on the resistance. Resistance is your friend. I know that sounds weird, but it is, because resistance is informative. Resistance is telling you that there's something else you need to consider as you're building out how you want to make this change happen. Do not run from resistance. Do not squash it. Do not make people feel bad because they're resisting your thought. Hear them, listen to them, ask more questions so you can really understand from their perspective, so that as you make the change, you know it's going to work. And then finally, grow through the pain of the change. Again, as we've been deemed misfits or change agents, and we want to bring our authentic selves to the table, but we want to be able to do it and influence um, the environments that we're in, and we want to do it in a healthy way. We don't want to just be like the bull in the china closet and make people go in there and run over, right? So grow through the pain of the change, because other people are watching how you go through the change, whether um, you're introducing the change to the space, or if you are also being impacted by the change. When you are going through it, watch, grow through it, learn through it, be open. There are always people watching how you go through it, and they will respond, especially if you're the leader, they will respond based on your response. So if you want to get through this change in the right momentum and time frame, then you have to go through the growing process of um, expressing and influencing how you want the outcome in the most positive way. That's how I want to say it, in the most positive way. Remember, the change affects everyone. It affects everyone, even the person imposing the change. It affects everyone. So you're not a misfit. And if you are, embrace that voice. Bring your voice to the table. Bring your insight to the table, but bring it in a positive light so that people will listen. They will um, investigate more, all because of your thought. And it might not look like they're doing it, it might look like people are ignoring you. Don't let that push you away. Don't let that make you shy you away, because people hear you. They just may need time, as I said earlier, to absorb what you're saying, to really figure out what this means to them. And in some cases, in the best scenario, embrace what you're saying so that you all can move forward. Now, let's not think that this is a Pollyanna or it's all going to be sunshine and roses, right? There are times when you're going to bring things forth, and people are still going to think you're that reject. um, but that's okay. Know that you've expressed yourself, you've owned your identity, you know your value, and if the change never happens, you are empowered because you know you've expressed it and you're not sitting on it. There's nothing like a worse feeling than seeing something and wondering why it's not happening. Um, and if it's really, really impacting you and burning in your heart that this needs to change, when you don't say something, then it just continues to eat at you. Find a healthy way. Find someone who will listen to you and share it, because they might share some insight back to you why it is the way it is. And then you can feel better, okay? But at least you've expressed yourself, right? So I hope these 5 points are helping you. Remember, own and value your insight. Learn the currency of those who you're trying to influence so that you speak in their language so they can have a better opportunity to receive what you're trying to share with them. Give them the gift of time to just absorb and take in what you're sharing. And Harness the power of defining and collaborating with people so that whatever you thought becomes a bigger thought as more people participate in it, and then grow through the pain of change, because sometimes it is painful to go from where you are to where you really want to be. Not all change is painful, but sometimes it is. And so grow, learn through it so that even the next time you can be even more influential. Have a fantastic day. This is the middle of the week. Enjoy the rest of the week. I'll see you next week. Bye bye now. Again, I'm Yvette Owens, and you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook at The Diplomat Chronicles, at Company Culture with Yvette C. Owens, at Destiny Speak. Reach out, partner with me, collaborate with me, subscribe to my YouTube channel. We also have the YouTube channel Destiny Speak LLC. I have the YouTube channel under Yvette C. Owens. Visit our website at the destinyspeak.com or at thediplomatchronicles.com. You'll find great helpful tips on how to facilitate meetings, how to do even more, be a stronger leader. And if you're looking for a coach or someone to partner with you to help you become stronger, your teams become stronger, reach out. I'm happy to help. Our team is here to help you grow and create that healthy culture that will allow people to thrive, grow, and be their very, very best. Have a great day, and again, have an awesome week. Bye bye.